Hi.
Hey.
Today is the 15th of August, and today was a big day for us because it was the day of our scan. So as you can probably tell by my smiling happy face, it was a good day. It was a good day. So yes, so I think I mentioned in our last episode, this is episode 3 of our vlog, which we still haven't got a title for. Something to do with the fact that we're about to have a baby. Don't know what. We'll come up with something. But yeah, so it was pretty mad. So we went along. It was
the screensaver's doing something.
Yeah,
like
hang on.
Flaring going on. So I'm just going to change that.
All right. Sorry, very professional. So yes, sorry about that. So yeah, the scan was at 2:16, very specific this afternoon. So I didn't find out until yesterday by actually reading the reminder email that I had to go with a full bladder. Now that in itself posed complications because my bladder gets full at a moment's notice at the moment anyway. It is ridiculous. It is like I'm peeing probably every 20 minutes. And I don't even think that's much of an exaggeration. So I was like, right, well, I need to be strategic about this because it needs to be full. Basically up until 16 weeks, you need to have a nice full bladder so that it kind of pushes everything that needs to be sort of to where it needs to be so that you can see it with the ultrasound probe. But then I was like, right, okay, what's the latest I can wee and then still refill my bladder but not be desperately uncomfortable? And I really walked that tightrope because I was pretty uncomfortable. So we went along. And I was really nervous. I think I'd been really looking forward to the scan. So if I didn't mention before, this is a private scan that we've gone to, that we opted into in a private company, so it isn't NHS. Usually you will get an NHS scan once you've sort of confirmed everything with your midwife, usually around about sort of anywhere between sort of 10 to 14 weeks usually. That'll be initial scan to sort of check everything's okay, and I'll still get one of those and that will be on the NHS, but this one, excuse me, I'll be doing a bit of that as well. This one was private that we paid for because I just kind of wanted a little bit of extra reassurance along the way, and actually it was really convenient, really easy. It was right in the centre of town, just over the road from where I work actually, and I didn't even know it was there. So yeah, we went along, and it's quite a nice little place, just the one member of staff who just does everything, and she sort of, because of COVID and everything, it's like one in, one out. There's no people waiting in the sort of foyer area, so you're the only ones there, and she took you into this little room, and yeah, it was a quite short appointment. It was like 15 minutes. So she's like, get on the bed and put the goo on your belly, and it was quite encouraging because basically as soon as she put the probe on my belly, she went, yep, you're pregnant. And I was like, well, good. I hope so. Otherwise this will be a dreadful misunderstanding. And then the second thing she said was, yes, that's a very full bladder. Well done. You've done well there. And I was like, thank you. It's a real skill of mine that I've really been honing over the last few weeks. And then yeah, it was really exciting because she, to be honest, at 6 weeks, so she dated it so she could measure it, and she was like, yep, I think you're 6 weeks and 1 day. So because you date it based on day 1 of your last period, basically, is how pregnancy is dated. So it's a bit mad because like the first 2 weeks of pregnancy are before you've had sex, so I don't really understand how that works, but you know, that's how it's always been, and that's how it is. So but then obviously they go on actually the sort of date they think you are really based on conception, and so she's got me at 6 weeks 1 day. So when she said that, I was like, oh right, okay, well I know that you need to be at least 6 weeks to see a heartbeat. But
yeah, she said that, didn't she? She said
yeah, and she was like, to be honest, it's about 6.5, 7 weeks you'd be more likely to see a heartbeat. And I really wanted to see a heartbeat.
I was
today.
a little bit demoralised at that point because, like, I was a bit like, we've gone along to this scan. What are we actually going to see or get out of it? And I wanted, like, a bit for me, but like especially for yourself, because I knew you'd been a bit worried about it. Was like, I wanted the reassurance of a heartbeat, or like get a bit more out of, you know, we've gone along to this scan. You want to feel like you've well, had your money's worth,
Yeah.
you know, and have something to show for it, and that you have that peace of mind, and not have to then wait another couple of weeks or whatever. So
for context, it's sort of the actual heart starts beating earlier, but the earliest it can be detected is usually sort of 6.5 to 7 weeks. And as soon as she sort of had dated it, she was like, so that might mean that we might not get a heartbeat today, but that doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing, don't worry. And then she sort of changed a few settings on the ultrasound,
which to sort of dwell on the negative or anything, but obviously I think we've mentioned on here before that you did have a miscarriage previously, so obviously I think that means there's an element of
there's definitely an element of
anxiety or just kind of
well, that's why I was so anxious beforehand, because although I'd been really looking forward to the scan, on the actual morning of, I was a bit like, oh no, what if I go there and it's not good news? What if this is basically the day that they sort of say, oh no, it's all going away?
I think you'd had a couple of sort of anxiety dreams last night. Yeah. Like, not specifically about this, but just general anxiety.
Well, I'm having dreams, mad dreams anyway, which is a pregnancy symptom, but also because I'm coming off my fibro meds are a slight sedative, so they kind of knock you out and help you sleep really deeply. So I tend not to remember my dreams, so I'm probably getting an upsurge in just remembering my dreams anyway. But then with the all of my symptoms at the moment, it's like a nice little exacerbation of, is this just because I'm coming off my meds, or is this a pregnancy symptom? And maybe it's a bit of both, or maybe they're more intense because I don't have the medication that I'm used to. So it's all a bit of it's all a bit mental. But yeah, so I was a bit anxious. And so when she said that, my heart did sink a little bit, but she sort of like, she was so enthused when, like, literally the fact went, oh yeah, definitely pregnant, like, and then she sort of pointed out, I've got the scans, you won't be able to see much from them, I will show them to you. But then she said, so we'll have a look, but don't be disheartened if we can't. And then she sort of changed some settings. It was quite good because you're in like a darkened room, and she had the thing like projected on the wall, so you could see it really big and really clear. And then she sort of went, oh, hang on, look. And then as soon as she'd said that, I actually thought I'd clocked what she was looking at anyway, because she'd sort of pointed out where we were looking, which without her expertise, I could have possibly been staring into my bladder and be going like, where's the baby? Because it really is just a little dot at this stage. But in that little dot, there's this little flickery bit. And it was just like this little, that's the best way I can describe it, just this tiny little bit in the middle of the dot just flickering. And she went, oh yeah, can you see that? That's a heartbeat. And that was just, oh my god, I was so pleased to hear that. And then she went, okay, so we'll be really lucky if we can hear it at this stage, because like I say, you're only about 6 weeks one day, but we'll try. And then she changed some setting, went, let's have a look. And then just clear as day, really loud, really strong, really fast actually for a heartbeat, but there's proper like boom, ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. And I was like, is that it? Is that it? Ah! That was amazing. So that just was exactly what I needed today. That made me feel
that was exciting.
So...
And like, you know, I've got a Nintendo Switch. I've got a Cineworld Unlimited card. I feel like...
Where is this going?
I feel like my bar for excitement on a screen is quite high. And yet this was like, I mean, the graphics were shit, but I was like, this is exciting, this is good.
Yeah, I felt really overwhelmed at that point. That was really lovely. And another thing that sort of makes that, well, it was amazing anyway, really sort of makes it quite real. Like obviously it felt real anyway, but there's a little voice in the back of your head that's just like, maybe I'm not pregnant at all, maybe I'm just ill. Like, and like, even though like obviously logically, you know, well, I'm taking pregnancy tests, several, 3 actually, and I'm having pregnancy symptoms and all of it, like, you know, but your brain does start to sort of fuck with you a bit. But then hearing a heartbeat in my body that was not mine was absolutely amazing. It was, so I have to say, if you are going through this yourself and you can afford to do so, do look into it. There are like, because this was actually, we actually initially looked at going to the local private hospital, because I didn't actually know that there were like little sort of just private companies that did specifically just pregnancy ultrasounds. And because of COVID and because of all the private hospitals taking on additional sort of NHS stuff to sort of help with the COVID situation, they couldn't actually book me in for an early reassurance scan until late September, which would have been well beyond my 12 weeks anyway. So that's not really an early reassurance scan, that's just a scan. So I was a bit disheartened when that happened, but luckily a friend of mine recently sort of, in the last couple of years, I think her little one's probably about 2 now, went through the similar thing, and
pregnancy.
Yeah, it went through a similar, but she went through a similar scare because she'd actually had a previous difficult pregnancy, so she wanted the reassurance. I think she ended up actually having like 4 private scans throughout, so that's an expensive hobby, I can tell you. Yeah, she went. So she was like, "Oh, there's a place in town," and I was like, "Oh, brilliant." Yeah, I would highly recommend doing it because that reassurance
only
is...
if you're not only if you are pregnant.
Yeah, probably don't just go for the lols.
Yeah.
But
waste of everybody's time.
But yeah, it was so nice. And the thing that like I'm sort of now clinging to, that I'm gonna try to keep my anxiety in check with, is that once a firm heartbeat has been established, that drastically improves your odds of going the distance. So that in itself, it was invaluable, because the stats up to about week 12 of pregnancy aren't that great. Sort of debatable exactly, but either 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 pregnancies don't make it to 12 weeks. Which is depressing, and I think more people should be aware of that, because I think like I wasn't at all, and I think we need to normalize that, and I guess that's why the sort of the whole like don't tell people thing goes on, but that's why they say don't tell people, because it might all go away. But if you do get a heartbeat, that is a really good sign that everything's developing as it should do, and that then means that you've got much better odds of going long term, which obviously is the goal. So I would highly recommend doing the same if you're in the same boat. I think just the peace of mind, because as I've sort of, the few people that I've spoken to on this, everybody's kind of said, yeah, that wait to 12 weeks is quite torturous. It is quite sort of like you're just kind of trying to get to each landmark, and you're wishing the time away. Not just also, by the way, because of this like impending fear, but also because you feel rough as fuck. Like, I will change the tone slightly, but yeah, I probably look quite, he's telling me off for saying I look rough, but I feel rough.
The mother of my child you're talking to.
I know it is.
Bullshit.
But yeah, oh god, like, so like we had this amazing thing today, and like left elated, absolutely over the moon. But then it was like, hey, we should celebrate. But literally there is nothing that I can do to celebrate right now, because
she can't drink. She's off her food. She's tired.
Yeah, we can't even like go for a nice meal or like meet some friends, because I literally like
and obviously at this stage we're quite limited in how many friends we're telling anyway.
Yeah.
So it's, and they're not necessarily, I mean, my friends don't. Not that I'm stumbling over things here. Not that I don't like the people that I've met through you living in Newport, but my specific friends that I have told do not live in Newport.
Right, yeah.
Is what I'm saying. So they're not just on hand to kind of, hey.
Yeah, well, because, yeah, I feel quite bad for you, actually, because you probably, like, under normal circumstances, you could have just, like, gone to the pub, but, like, obviously COVID and everything. But, like, me, I was like, yay, that's a real relief. That's brilliant. Came home, basically, I think I was up for about an hour, and then I went to bed, and I've been in bed all day, and then I got up at about
I feel like
8.
That would have been a very 1950s thing to do, though. Like, hey, brilliant news, we read the scan. All right, you pop off home to bed, I'm off to the pub with my mates to celebrate.
Well, I wouldn't blame you, to be honest, because literally I was just in bed for the afternoon. It's not like you were sort of tending to me because I was asleep. He has tended to me, because once I woke up I was like, get up a cup of tea, please. And he's been very good. But yeah, I
That's
cannot.
ask for a cup of tea. So...
I was texting, obviously.
I know.
But yeah, I have been staggered at how rough I feel. Like it is good, and it's like all of it is like it's worth feeling rough for. At least you've got like a nice thing to focus on, and the feeling rough is at least sort of reassuring that hormones are surging and it's all going the way it should. But bloody hell, I'm so tired, and bear in mind, I've got 11 years experience of having a chronic fatigue and pain health condition. So I've done fatigue and I've done feeling rough. This is different. It's not, I'm not going to say it's worse than like fibro when it's at its worst, but it's all encompassing, and it's like, I can't, like, I'm so tired, like so tired. And even after being like up for a bit, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, it's time to go back to bed. There is a little bit of me that's, thank God we're in lockdown, because if I was sort of running normal full hours in work, well, yesterday, as a bit of a surprise, so we're not officially open in work, but we're taking the odd booking. Excuse me, I keep burping. It's because I'm nauseous. Sorry. So we took a surprise, like, one-off booking for the day yesterday. And I was like, it was last minute, but it was 7 players, which is the maximum we're taking at the moment. So I was just like, well, money's tight, we need to take it. But because it was last minute, obviously I couldn't rotor in staff. So I was just like, do you know what? I've had a quiet day today. I will go in tomorrow. So this was Thursday that I got the call. And fortunately, one of my staff members was able to come in, thank God he was, because firstly, couldn't do a whole game without needing a wee. So wouldn't have been able to just, because you can't obviously like pop off to the loo while people are locked in a room. You need to be watching them. I don't know if I've actually mentioned on this vlog, but I run an escape room is what my actual day job is. So just to explain, I'm not just locking people in for the lols. Well, I guess I am, but they're consensual.
What they paid for.
That's what they want. But yeah, I needed a wee, but also like, just like, I was literally, it was about an hour to set up and an hour's game. And by the time the game started, I was floored. I was absolutely shattered. And it's just like, that's not normal level of tired. So I don't know how, like, admittedly, I've got the sort of coming off meds thing and the existing health problems anyway, but like, this is like next level fatigue that anyone, no matter what your normal baseline is, this would just floor you. So anyone who's got like a normal job and also keeping it all secret and not telling their work colleagues and all of that, like, I don't know how they do it. So I've got no tips. I've got no advice. The only thing I'm doing is basically literally whenever I need rest, taking it. So that does mean a lot of, I can't even call them naps, because they are hours and hours in bed, and long baths, because my back is really hurting. I thought the needing to pee all the time and the backache and those sorts of things, I thought they were late in the pregnancy to do with the bump, but there's a whole world of crazy shit going on in your body right now. Like, so the needing to pee is largely to do with the surging hormones, and you're literally creating extra blood volume, and there's lots of sort of mad shit going on in your metabolism, running a bit faster. But the backache, or like during pregnancy, and I guess it makes sense that it starts straight away because you've only got like 9 months to get your body ready to sort of birth a baby. But all of your ligaments start to stretch and grow. So not just like the ones in your baby making area, but all of them. But specifically sort of your back and abdomen in the main bits, but also your skeletal structure starts to change. Your hips widen and sort of click into different positions. And it stings, guys. It smarts. So long baths to sort of, but also can't be hot baths, because overheating is really bad for you. So fortunately, because I overheat with my fibro anyway, I can't stand too hot a bath. I have like quite warm baths. They're fine, but you shouldn't have, like, there's certain things that are off the menu. Hot baths, saunas, steam rooms, all of those are no-nos during pregnancy, because
some of those are no-nos during COVID-19 anyway.
Yes.
So
yeah. Well, if you had your own hot tub, I think that's fine.
Sure.
But
yeah.
Well, gyms are open now, so they might have saunas and steam rooms.
No, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he's saying there's no steam rooms and things. I guess because it just passes everything through.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of recycled air and stuff, isn't it? But yeah, for whenever you're watching this, and if you are going through it, yeah, that's a no-no, because overheating can cause problems. So basically, warm baths fine, hot baths no. But yeah, and just my food is a chore. Like, I'm living on very odd food, to be honest. Like, quite a few times I've had just bowls of just mashed potato. Well, I've used Smash, so I've made it slightly like, I've even made it slightly more runny than the sort of like proportions allow, so that it's like a very like buttery, melty mash. But I can't stand salt and pepper on it even, because it's just too strong a flavour. I don't know if you like quite plain pasta things. I'm trying to get like some fruit and veg in me every day, just so that I'm getting some vitamins. But thank God I've got like prenatal vitamins, because I'm just struggling to eat. Like, thankfully I'm not being sick, but I feel sick all the time. Like, it's a very uncomfortable sort of queasy sort of, it's like the feeling, like, you know, when you haven't eaten for ages and ages and you're really hungry and you start to get like feel sick and almost have hunger pangs and pain in your stomach because you're really hungry and it's empty and it's cramping. It's that kind of feeling almost. It's very similar, but it is not alleviated by eating. Eating does not help. Should we pause this and let the cat out? Because that cat is going to keep me out. I'll just do a quick pause. Hey, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so it's feeling very like, so food is just not appealing. And even if it were, the smell of food is enough to put me off. Like, everything smells so strong.
I made something the other day. What did I make? Buttered spinach?
Yeah.
Which admittedly I made it, like, it was with garlic and it was fried, so fried garlic.
I think actually frying garlic is probably my worst food smell. It's just too strong. And
it's because normally the rule with Ellie is if the recipe has garlic in it, double it.
Yeah.
And if the recipe doesn't have garlic in it,
before, but yeah,
just put some garlic in.
Lovely, yeah. Normally yum that stuff up, but
it was fried garlic, so I guess that is a strongish smell, but it's not one that you normally find unappealing.
No, I normally love that.
Not like fish or meat or anything. You know, it's buttered spinach. It's
not there might have to be like a kippers ban in the house for the next 8 months.
As if I've had any kippers.
Well, you have had some fishy things that I've complained that have made the house smell fishy. Mackerel?
Well, I've made fish pie, and that has
fish.
Smoked haddock in it. I'm not denying having had fish.
Yeah.
I had smoked haddock. That's quite a fishy fish.
Yeah. Sardines.
Really nice,
fried sardines. They're quite pungent as well.
That's true. Sardines. I do make a really nice fish pie though. So get in touch if you want the recipe.
Even thinking about it.
That's the best fish pie I've ever had.
But,
really good. Don't trust pregnant vegans.
No,
on this point.
Never.
So on the
never trust pregnant vegans.
The best fish pie recipe. Pregnant vegans are not.
No, not the demographic really.
Expert.
Right.
But I do feel bad though, because I'm just plowing ahead making sort of nice meals for myself. I've been trying to cook a few more things for myself rather than just having stuff off trays and whatever. And I have, when I can, I have cooked stuff for you, but it's generally something very plain.
Yeah, well, I want to be sort of.
I feel like a bit bad because I'm just sort of plowing ahead, sort of watching TV and or making YouTube videos, doing my own thing, and you're just having to have these naps and baths all the time, and
you're doing all that you can, really.
Well, that's it. I wish I could do a bit more, and also I feel a bit bad because I'm going to be going back to work next week, so I can't even be around to make the cups of tea or make the bland food. And
that's going to be rubbish.
Know. Yeah, I don't know how people cope when they're kind of like, because obviously we're in a situation. If this has happened like outside of a global pandemic, I'd have just been having to go to work
and
anyway,
gigging at night,
and traveling to gigs potentially and things.
It's been a real godsend, actually, that you're around for this and that I can. So although we are trying to get back open in work, I've got two colleagues. One is one of my brothers, David, who's my business partner, and the other is Conan, who's one of our employees, but he's amazing. Like, we're basically training him up to be one of us. He's already probably better than both of us. So I've told that, like, obviously I've told David because he needed to know, but I figured we need to tell Conan as well, because it's just like, this is going to affect you, because I thought I was going to be able to be in more over the coming months, and actually realistically I'm not going to be able to.
Now,
Maybe somebody who was in perfectly good health when they got pregnant might be able to power through a little bit better,
Well,
but even still,
this
for
is what I was gonna say.
anyone, it's going to
Obviously,
be a
it's-
massive, like, whoa, shock to the system.
Obviously,
because
it is worse for you because you A, have fibromyalgia, and B, are weaning yourself off medication for fibromyalgia. And that medication helps with the pain and also helps you sleep, so now you're not sleeping as well. And it's
I'm sleeping. I'm sleeping, mate.
But you're not getting like as
No.
good.
It's not as
sleep at
restorative
night,
as it would normally
it's
be.
lighter sleep, and so you've got a whole extra thing of problems. But nonetheless, like the idea that women get pregnant and have to carry on going to their sort of 9 to 5 jobs or whatever it is they're doing, and for a lot of them, for the most part, just hiding it for the first 12 weeks.
Hats off to you
They
guys.
can't tell anyone what's going on.
So
They can't have their meals when they feel up to it. They can't necessarily have a bowl of smash. Do you know what I mean? It's
well, that's what I will say actually, because if there are any expectant dads or partners of pregnant ladies or pregnant people around that are watching this, the only thing I will say is, like, honestly, literally, just do whatever you can, because it makes the world of difference. Because, like, there have been times, and I hate doing it, because, like, because I've got this chronic health problem, and I've got a history of being quite unwell and needing to be sort of looked after fairly intensively. Like, when it's been at its worst, it's sort of been, I've had to stay upstairs and have food brought to me on a tray because I can't manage the stairs to come up and down to go use the loo or things like that. So it's pretty bad. So because I have sometimes had times when I really need to be looked after, I don't like to be looked after. I don't like asking for help unless I really need it, and I don't like to sort of be waited on. Like, I know that sounds ridiculous, because, like, it sounds lush, if somebody wants to wait on you, if I could take it, but I have actually had to sort of be quite, I've had to sort of just swallow it and be kind of like, Chris, can you get me a thing, or can you cook me a really weird thing, or, like, can you just, like, and bless you, you've been amazing, but that makes a world of difference. So, like, going through it on your own must be really, really tough, and even just going through it with someone who's maybe not the most sympathetic, because I know how lucky I am, because unfortunately I have witnessed some people in not so great relationships who've had very unsympathetic partners who just like, women have been having babies forever, sort of pull your socks up kind of malarkey. It's like, yeah, that doesn't mean it's easy though. But yeah, so it's just it's pretty intense, and it's kind of, if you can, just rest when you can. If you're feeling the need to, plan your time around getting enough rest. Do what you can, like, try and get food in you, but actually, if you are being sick or if you're really low in appetite, you don't actually need to increase your normal calories until you're in the last or very later stages of pregnancy. Eating for two is a bit of a myth, unfortunately. But yeah, try and keep hydrated and try and rest. And if you are somebody who's helping somebody through pregnancy, is like almost become a pain with offering, is there anything I can do? Do you need anything? Because chances are they do.
We both downloaded an app today.
Yes.
Called Pregnancy Plus, which was recommended to us by the woman at the scan place.
Yes.
And because it's like anything, there's so you go on your phone and you search
millions
for
of
an
apps,
and you don't know what
some
ones
of them are very
good.
American, and and they're sort of like the first.
Also, we tried out some audiobooks, didn't we? And
Yeah.
they were very American.
Yeah.
So,
well, we'll come back to them, but yeah. So this app.
But this app, Pregnancy Plus, was recommended to us, and it shows you like how big the baby should be at this stage and what it should look like, and in like a nice 3D kind of scan and things, and there's a little feature on it, you can write a little diary of how you're feeling each day.
Nice.
But it also gives advice like
you have
partner.
like a different version, so you either have I'm the mum to be, or I'm the partner of the mum to be, and they sort of give. The
advice it gave me today was offer your partner crackers.
Ah. You did. You went and bought crackers.
I did go buy crackers. I took it very literally. Well, it sort of reminded me that the other week you'd asked about having some water biscuits.
Yeah, that was actually, as it turns out, ambitious because I'd bought a bunch of vegan cheese and meat and things when I was feeling quite well, and I thought, oh, that'll be nice to have on a cracker. And then sort of the nausea kind of kicked in. So luckily they've all got like quite a long life on them because they're going to be sitting in my fridge for a while because they are too flavoursome.
But I think
just like a cracker.
Just as like a bland thing to nibble on if you can't manage much else.
Yeah. Another thing that I found good is ginger biscuits. Because I don't actually, they're a bit sweet. They're a bit of a strong flavour. But actually, ginger is brilliant for nausea. So actually, although like I don't actually feel like having one, when I do have one, I'm like, oh yeah, that's going down quite well. But yeah, it's sort of like, I've normally got a really sweet tooth and just sort of biscuits and things just like not really, like I've sort of got to make myself eat. Like a couple of times, I've got these quite nice, quite high protein flapjack bars. I was previously using them because they're good because they're high protein, so they're filling. So if you're sort of on the go, they're quite good to sort of take to work or something because you sort of might be snacking in between games and you're not sure when you're going to get like a proper meal. So they keep you full for quite a while, but I thought they're great for now because they're sort of high protein, which is exactly what you need, but they're not too big and weighty and they're not going to make me sort of feel too full. But they'll just keep me sort of nicely ticking over. But I sort of do, like once I'm eating them, they're okay, but I do have to be like... Right, okay. And I love them normally. All of my food, basically, I'm not really enjoying it. Like, it's fine and it's going down okay. And that in itself, I'm lucky because it could be worse. I could be like eating something and knowing I'm going to be sick in a bit. And like, that's got to be demoralising. So at least I'm keeping it down. But yeah, there's very little enjoyment out of food. So I'm just trying, the main thing I'm trying to focus on is keeping hydrated and eating enough so that I can take my prenatal vitamin because that's supposed to be taken on on a full stomach. It's not absolutely vital, but it works best if it is. But also, I've discovered, because I was looking into why, because I was like, on days when I haven't really been able to eat, I've been like, do I have to take it on a full stomach? Like, can I just take this? And it turns out actually it can make nausea worse because it's got quite a high iron content. And that in your stomach, in an empty stomach, can make you feel quite nauseous because you get like that metallic taste, which I'm getting quite a lot of a metallic taste anyway. Particularly when I drink water, so I've had to sort of revert. I don't normally drink a lot of squash, but I've had to put a little bit of squash in my water so that it doesn't taste metallic. Lots of very weird symptoms, guys. So before we go on to talking about those prenatal books and the pregnancy advice audiobooks, because they are worth mentioning, but I want to show you the picture. So when I mention that it doesn't really look like much, it really doesn't look like much. It doesn't
look like much in front of us here, and you're going to be seeing it sort of on the screen.
Right, that's probably not the best one to look at.
No, that one's a bit...
Right, okay. See that big black empty space there? That's my bladder. I was not kidding about it being nice and full. Now, that big black dot with a little dot in the middle of it, that big black bit is the sac with the pregnancy. Oh no, we've just hit our maximum file size. I forgot about that on phones. All right, well, this will be part 2 because this carries on recording.
Oh, it's still recording, is it?
So, sorry about that. So, right, we were explaining. So basically...
Edit those together.
Yeah. That little dot there in the middle of it, that's baby. So when she did a little zoom and we could see a little flickering in it, which was probably the most zoomed in one, is probably that one, but it's not the most sort of clear. But when we did look at that on the screen, on the wall, you could see just this little sort of flickering, little bit flickering in it, which was just amazing. So yeah, got a few of those. We've got
also the personal treat, because you put the gel on your stomach and put the little scanny thing on your stomach there. And she said, "Oh yeah, definitely pregnant."
Like, and I was like, "What are you seeing?" That's
within seconds, wasn't it? It was like, "Oh yeah, pregnant." But then she said, "Oh, the baby's sort of hiding behind the bladder. We'll have to have a look round the back, kind of thing." So what was she seeing?
What were you seeing that was in front of the bladder?
Yeah, definitely pregnant. I wish I thought to ask at the time. I'm curious now.
Yeah.
But you don't think, do you? Just waiting and waiting. Oh, do I want to hear?
Yeah,
see
the whole thing was a bit of a blur actually, but it was lovely.
She was lovely. She had a mask on. And it looked,
COVID. So I don't think she normally would do that, but
it looked
COVID,
like a kind of medical type mask, like you'd see almost like a surgeon or something. It was that kind of medical hospital green sort of colour, wasn't it? And but there was something about it. It was like it was sort of puckered down the front, and so when she talked, it sort of moved in and out. But it was like a horizontal, vertical rather than a horizontal.
I didn't notice.
Well, you know how... did you not?
No.
Oh, I was fixated on it. Because the mouth, obviously, is a horizontal line on the human head.
Usually, yeah.
But this was like a vertical line. And when she spoke, it kind of went...
Like a bit of a Doctor Who creature.
Well, yeah, that's it. I thought she looked like a space alien. And I was like...
I didn't notice.
And there's no offence to her. It was just the mask. But she did it like a little... Oh, you must be very excited about the pregnancy. Like, it was great.
Yeah, I didn't notice. So that's...
I can't guarantee that will be everyone's experience.
But yeah, so she said when you go back for your 12-week scan, so today, it's like around about the size of a grain of rice today, but in 12 weeks, it's going to be like proper, it's going to have fingers and toes that it can wriggle and all sorts. It's going to look more like a recognisable baby then, because I will admit, like, to be honest, ultrasounds are always, I've kind of thought, like, yeah, I can sort of see that that's a thing, but they don't look like a lot. They look like, but I thought even at this stage, like, the fact that it's a dot, I'm like, to be honest, I'm glad I can see a little thing in there that's like, look, like, that's what that is. But the rate at which it grows, no wonder you get so tired, because that sort of rate of growth of growing a human that like doubles in size every like 2 days is bonkers. So yeah, absolutely balmy. But so yeah, we'll go on to what we sort of started talking about earlier, which was the pregnancy books. So I've got an Audible account because I actually prefer to listen to audiobooks than to read. That's partly a fibro thing. I struggle a bit with focusing on big chunks of text, but listening to them works for me. So I sort of went online. I sort of went by reviews. I was like, I got one because I had a few credits that had built up that I haven't used for a while. So I was like, oh, well, there's one that's specifically for dads, so do you want that? And then there's a few, I got a couple for me. Bit of a... Like, I will work my way through them and listen to them because there probably is a lot of decent advice in it. But the downside was it was quite Americanized, which you'd think, oh, well, that doesn't really matter because pregnancy is the same everywhere. But actually, the first chapter was how to select your OBGYN. And it's just like, shop around for hospitals. And it's just like, that's not how it works. It's not how it works here because you just go to your nearest hospital and they'll have a department for everything. You don't get to choose your doctor. But also, like, so that's obviously a downside. Maybe some people would like to shop around for their doctor, but they were also like, make sure your insurance will cover maternity costs, but none of them cover all, it seems. It was just like, find the one that will have the highest proportion of your out-of-pocket costs covered. If you're like, ideally you need to like already be insured before you get pregnant because otherwise the excesses will be much greater, and you'd be looking at tens of thousands of pounds to get you through your medical health care. And yeah, a proportion of that will be covered by your insurance, but not all of it.
I don't know how, because
how do you afford it? Like, you just...
They obviously have poor people in America, you know, who get pregnant and have kids.
I think there are certain like free clinics and things that you can go to that are sort of subsidised and things, but I imagine it's not great and difficult to get appointment, and you probably have to travel quite a long way, and that might not be easy if you haven't got much money. So lots of that was quite eye-opening. And then there was sort of talk about, because I think maternity leave is very different in America, so quite a lot of it was slanted in that direction, which was a shame. But then it went on to sort of talk about sort of some practical tips about what exercise it's safe to do and what sort of diet things you should try and be doing, and actually all of that was quite helpful. One of the things I thought was a bit of a poor choice though, and I don't want to sound horribly sexist on this, but I didn't like the narrator. It was a man, and he wasn't very good at reading, to be honest. Like his intonation was a bit jarring, but like he had like a slightly condescending tone, so it did feel a little bit like I'm having my own pregnancy mansplained to me by this American dude that like keeps saying things that don't really match what actually is going on as well. So like it was a bit jarring. So I was sort of having a bit of a like, what do you know, kind of feeling about it.
Like,
which was a bit of a shame.
They should have swapped narrators, because I had a woman narrating mine, which is almost the opposite thing. I sort of going, I would like maybe a sympathetic dad who's been through it, being like, hey, this is what you can expect, don't worry, rather than like, oh, you're a stupid man, listen to me tell you how to kind of treat your partner.
The book was written by two women who've written it together. So I think Pregnancy 2.0, which I think is yours, was written by a bloke.
No,
so,
it was
by a
woman.
right,
I think so. It was narrated by
so yeah, I just sort of think like it's weird that those sorts of things matter, but it does make a difference to sort of how well you sort of go along with it. But yeah, I think so. If you're buying baby books, maybe, although they were very well reviewed, and I'm sure the content, because I've only sort of listened to the first few chapters, and I'm sure they'll be worthwhile, but there are sort of big chunks that you're like, oh, this isn't really relevant here.
I haven't listened to much of mine yet. One of the things it said was like, oh, many new fathers find work to be a respite from parenting, and I'm like, I mean, doing a comedy gig I love, but like my day job, not so much. It's not the best will in the world. Like, it pays the bills. It's not a passion project, and it's flexible for going and doing comedy. Like, if that becomes my rest, like the rest of my life is supposed to be my respite from that.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
well, I guess that's just a testament though to how hard it is probably gonna be.
I guess so, but it's not very
encouraging.
No, but like, oh, that thing you can't wait to get home from and you don't want to have to go to. That's going to be the good bit.
Yeah.
Like, is the
yeah, that's not encouraging, is it?
Well, I guess it. If you have a job that you love, then good for you.
Yeah, and I guess maybe it's sort of like because there's things that I've started to just dip my toe into the water to looking into as to how split parental leave works and things, because over here it's newish. So maternity leave is sort of set, and a woman gets a certain amount of maternity leave anyway, but then the prolonged leave can now be split between both partners, which I think is brilliant, because it does mean that there's less sort of assumption that it'll be the woman that stays off for sort of a longer period of time to raise the baby, like after she's recovered from the birth. And it allows for sort of more flexible parenting choices, so it's more easy for perhaps a man to take on the role of principal caregiver. And also, in the situation where perhaps the woman earns a bit more than the man, she can get back to work and work for full pay, and the bloke can take the pay cut and work on sort of paternity leave and things like that. So that's brilliant, and I think it's good. And because I'm sort of self-employed, I have to be an employee for us to use that, but I am, because we pay me as an employee, but it's my business, so it's we can actually split that. And what is good is you can take it at the same time, the number of weeks between you, basically. So we could just both take it at the same time, or I can take some and then you can take the rest, and sort of I can work from home maybe, and then with you here to sort of help with things. So we're looking at being able to be quite flexible, which is good, because I think like we've not done this before, we don't know what we're doing, and I think we're bumbling through as best we can, but like flexibility and kind of rolling with the punches is going to be very much our parenting style, I think is fair to say. Just like, yep, this is what needs doing right now, okay, that's what we'll do right now then, and we'll work out tomorrow when it comes. Which might not be the most organised approach, but it's kind of us and who we are. And I think the best way that we can sort of describe us is baby will be very, very loved, albeit in possibly quite a disorganised environment. But that's okay, isn't it? Like, yeah. Organisation isn't the top quality parenting.
Childhood is supposed to be shambolic. Something else from my book. And again, this is the very early stages of the book, and it sort of goes like, oh, if you're, thinking about like planning to start a family, then you can read from the start. If you're already sort of pregnant and you know, your partner's already a certain amount along and you've got, starting to panic, then you maybe just skip the first couple of chapters and dive straight into that stuff. And hey, you know, if you've ignored this book the whole time and now you've got a baby and it's got the sniffles and you're going, oh God, maybe there's something in that book, hey, just fine, just skip ahead to whatever bit's relevant, that's fine. So, but we're in very early stages, I'm listening from the beginning, and it does say, there's a bit in it about how to react when your partner tells you that they're pregnant, and it's saying, oh, you know, don't react in an angry or defensive way or something like that to being told that your partner's pregnant. Now, a couple of things about that.
There's a few things there, isn't there?
Who needs to be told, like, an angry...
Oh, no, there are people who need to be told
I'm
that.
sure that
but I'm sure they're not already reading a pregnancy book.
I'm sure that there are people who would respond to that news in an angry or defensive way, but even those people, how many of them think that is what... Yeah, that's probably what my partner would like. Do you know what I mean? Like,
they know that that's probably not what the goal is.
Yeah,
but yeah, the Venn diagram of people who need to be
already...
told that and who are reading that book before that news has come is that. There's no overlap there. If you're reading the book, you've probably already been told that you're pregnant, or you were planning to get pregnant, in which case you're not going to be angry.
It would be a positive bit of news,
hopefully.
So
yeah, a bit of an odd one that, but that is quite depressing. But unfortunately, that is like the reality of, I guess, maybe more so with unplanned pregnancies. Of not the chaps aren't always the best at dealing with that news. But yeah, it's a bit sad that. But thankfully, we're in we're mature. Oh god, there's a few really grim terms, by the way, ladies. Brace yourself for this one. I'm 35. That counts as a geriatric pregnancy. Elderly is another word. Elderly prima gravidata, something like that. Basically, there's terms for first baby or subsequent babies, and it's like prima would be first. And yeah, so I'm elderly prima gravid. So yeah, elderly and geriatric, and of advanced age. But that's how it is. Like the human body. Like, once you're sort of going through your 30s, you're not, by no means, sort of past it in terms of fertility, but the body isn't as geared towards it as it perhaps is when you're 20. So there are some complications that can arise just due to the fact that you're older. And there are also complications that can happen due to the fact that you haven't had children before, when you were younger. So actually some mothers, if they had children younger and then have children in their 30s, it's more helpful because certain sort of muscle groups have kind of been broken in beforehand. Nice term. And various things like that. But yeah, elderly, geriatric, fuck off.
The woman who did our scan today,
yeah,
she said that she was born in 1986.
Yes, I was born in 1985.
Yeah,
she was taking my date of birth.
It makes her younger than both of us. Mm-hmm. But she was saying, it's really nice to have some people who were born in the 80s. You know, everyone else, a lot of people coming in younger. It's nice to have someone else from the 80s. Yeah.
But then she said, yeah, because I'm getting quite a lot of the 2000s. And I was like, 2000s? Aren't they all about 5? Because in my head it's 2005. It's not. It's 2020. So, of course,
so
they're probably, they're late teens. Late teens, early 20s. Well, very early 20s. So they could be 18, 19, 20. Like, sort of, like, people are having babies and sort of, like...
But it does feel like...
That's depressing.
Yeah. We're in the old bracket.
We're old. Old, guys. So, yeah, that's the boat that we're in, but...
I'm sure I only finished uni last year.
I know.
What's happened?
I know.
Because I'm still working in retail, and that was definitely just a stopgap.
It's going to be flying back.
Dear.
So we're just bumbling through, really, but today was a good day is the best way I can sort of summarize that. This is the most animated I've been all day, and I am now shattered and I'm going to go to bed. But it is lovely
really
to have this
it's talking out loud business.
Oh, guys, I've been burping all the way through it as well. it's such a magical time. But yeah, it's been a good day.
Cherish these moments.
Oh God. Yeah, it's just like prepare yourself for being a bit gross. It's a bit gross. And yeah, not the most sexy I'll ever be in my life, but it's all for a very good cause. And we saw a little. Well, you're a good boy. But yeah, we saw a heartbeat today. Little heartbeat going on. So yeah, there are currently 2 hearts beating in me at the moment, which is weird. That's some sci-fi weird bullshit, that is, isn't it? That's probably a good enough point to sort of summarise and to sum it up. Yeah. 2 hearts, 1 body. Either a really naff 80s love song.
It does, doesn't it?
Or some sort of crazy sci-fi.
You old new romantic, you.
I'm an elderly new romantic.
Elderly new romantic.
Elderly bullshit.
Yeah, that's how you know you're an old mum. You've heard of Duran Duran.
They are at least before my time, though.
Do you think
come on?
Do you think the young yummy mummies today have heard of Spandau Ballet? They've got no idea.
No, they probably think it's a clothing brand for children. Anyway, right, so we're going to call it a day there. We'll be back with you next time I have the energy to do so, but today felt like a momentous one, so we'll see how we're getting on. Yeah, we'll see you again soon. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.